Off the record for a minute. Yes, I know we can all be hypocrites. I even have caught myself a few times. But President Obama, he takes the cake on this one. The Washington Post exposing him. The Post reporting there is a significant wage gap at the White House between men and women. How big? Try this, a 13% whopper big. Men at the White House on average get paid a whopping 13% more than women. Mr. President, what is with that? 13% is huge, and it's disgusting. I don't get President Obama. He brags about signing the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, protecting against gender-based pay discrimination, but then it turns out he's a terrible offender himself. Yep, a hypocrite. And don't go defending President Obama, as some do, by saying, well, the 13% pay gap is because men hold the more senior and more important jobs, and hence the higher pay. That's even worse, that women don't have an equal shot at the higher paid, more important jobs in the White House. The big jobs, apparently they go to the men. And if you think that's bad, and you should, brace yourself for what President Obama's press secretary, Josh Earnest, said today when he was pressed about the gender pay gap, that 13%, at the White House.
There's more work that needs to be done. The president remains committed to that work. What we would like to see for people all across the country is we would like to see a Paycheck Fairness Act passed. Right now that's being blocked by Republicans.
Really? He's blaming Republicans in answer to that? He's just trying to throw the dog off the scent so that we don't look at the White House. Now, that is so pathetic. There is more than hypocrisy at the White House. There's a war on women at the White House. And that's my off-the-record comment tonight. And now back to our political panel. The Hill's Alexandra Jaffe, Fortune Magazine senior editor Nina Easton, the National Review's Jim Garrity. Nina, let me start with you. 13% pay gap at the White House.
Well, all of this shows to me both the hypocrisy, but also the complexity of this issue, and all these people who jump on this bandwagon of, women make 23% less than men. The reason that there is a pay gap at the White House is because there are more men in senior positions.
But that's a problem. But that's a problem. Why are the men getting why are the men getting all the great jobs?
Well, it's a complex issue. I mean,
it's not a complex issue. It's an unfair issue.
It's not an unfair issue. Women are if women have children and take care of them, and a lot of them choose to stay home, that affects the pay gap.
I'm rolling my eyes at you, obviously. But go ahead.
Women, if you take into account choice, what people choose to major in, for example, petroleum engineering, high-paying job, 87% male, early childhood education, really low-paying profession. Very high percent women.
I'm talking about the White House.
So
I bet you $10 that I can find women to those high-paying jobs that are equally qualified as men.
How many women do you know who have survived a White House job with small children? That takes a number of women out of the pool.
There are a lot of women who probably could handle it with small children, and a lot of women who don't have small children. Jim,
as a man, I'm going to take a smaller percentage of the time for this segment, out of fairness to everyone else.
And it's dangerous.
There you go. So just quickly, if the White House would say, look, it's not because we're sexist, it's all these other factors going on, which they probably can make a plausible case is, why can't they extend that same generosity of say, okay, well, corporation over there, you're not necessarily a bad guy. Maybe it's one of these factors going on. In other words,
that's the hypocrite factor.
Well, that's the thing. It's automatically the worst of intentions when it happens for everybody else. When we do it, look, it's complicated. We don't have as many senior women in high-level staff positions. Hey, don't blame us. It's only, I'm glad they didn't put it's only 13%.
They demanded of others, but not themselves. Right. Alexandra, or the
reason it's particularly troubling is it hasn't changed throughout his sort of tenure. And he has made diversity and sort of promoting women and minorities a big part of his presidency, and that 13% pay gap has been there for years now. So,
and it wasn't the Bush administration too as well, a big gap, but he wasn't running on that.
And I just want to make clear, I think it's appalling. I think it's appalling. We have such a small percent of women CEOs. It's appalling. We have 14% of women as on boards of directors. That's appalling. However, you don't get there by saying everybody should have equal pay. It's a more complex situation than that.
All right, and I'm going to let you have the last word on that. Anyway, panel, thank you.